Manor Lords, Manor Lords, Manor Lords. Guys, we gotta talk. Hello again there, friends and fans. Raptor here, and welcome back to the channel for our first video on the newest update, a beta update to Manor Lords. Yes, there are two new maps. Yes, there is water, and yes, it is just as good, if not better than before. But there's a few things I want to talk about, a few things that still annoy me, and this game is not perfect, and I don't expect it to be until a very long time from now. Anyway, I had a big question for you. How was your year? How are you? How are things? It is good to see you all back here again, and thanks for joining me throughout the holidays. A lot of you here on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and I hope to see you on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day too for more streams on the channel and much more of Manor Lords. We've been playing it live. It's a damn good game. This is version 0.8.017, and I wanted to take a first look at a few things here with you and then jump into a game and give a few of my thoughts on a already started save. Well, first of all, as far as I can tell, there's not really much new here in terms of the new game creation, and I was reading some patch notes here that I'm not entirely certain on, that maybe all of you who are watching others or have learned on your own some of the differences here. Well, let's go ahead and jump into one of the standard game modes, restoring the peace, to one of the new maps. We've already played on Germanic Valley. That is the one you've seen a million times. You've probably played on and seen everybody play on it, and that is the one, of course, that it was here from the demo and here from day one in early access. But we have two new maps now. High Peaks, a beautiful and really actually interesting map that only has 4 regions that are in a straight line and are essentially like a 1v1, like head-to-head type game mode, which makes me wonder, will we ever see maybe more than one enemy or perhaps multiplayer in the future? If we do, it'll be well way in the future, if that's ever to be confirmed in like 1.0. I have my hopes, right? I don't want to say no. I think not, but I don't want to say no because I hope it'll be a thing. But this map is gorgeous and really reminds me of like the Tatra Mountains that I saw this year in, well, like on my way from the Czech Republic to Slovakia, which was great. And there is another map, of course, one that's got me very much thinking like another game very similar to Manor Lords, Winding River. This game, map reminds me of the game Ostriv. Yeah, a Ukrainian developer making that game well before I think I played Foundation, and Manor Lords I played Ostriv. And I think Manor Lords really scratches that itch of a game that combines what I love about Farthest Frontier, another really brutal, hardcore survival city builder, Ostriv, which also has a lot to do with that too, and a lot of realism in that game, and also Foundation, which, by the way, will be releasing at the end of January. So this game, in this new map, in this game, these two really remind me of a lot of the other games that I've played. And so never before have I been so happy to be able to play like Farthest Frontier, Foundation, Manor Lords. They all feel like the same game. And many of you often come and ask me, hey, how was the game? What do you think about game A versus game B, or X versus Y? And really, I have to recommend them all, especially since there's probably a Steam sale going on. And yeah, if you ever played any of these games on the Steam sales, or get any of these games on the Steam sales, that's the best time to get them. Now, another thing to answer real quick too for many of you is, how do I get access to this game or this beta? Well, if you're on Epic and if you're on Xbox Game Pass, I don't think you're going to be able to play on either of these two maps unless you get it on Steam and then go to the Steam library page or store page, where there'll be a post where Greg is encouraging everybody, and this is very important that everyone listens to all this, because this is what's different. A lot of people skip past this stuff and then ask what's new and jumping to the middle, so don't be one of those guys. Don't be one of those goobers. Listen up. You want to go to Steam and you want to listen on how to back up some of your previous saves so you don't goof them up with, even if you want to continue, perhaps if it's possible, in Germanic Valley. And of course, further updates may break your saves too. It's possible. So this is just kind of almost like Project Zomboid with build 42 being unstable. This one should be considered something that could get wiped too. So make sure you follow the instructions there and back up your saves to save you some time. That's just some really important common courtesy so everybody doesn't get wiped. All right, well, anyway, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the High Peaks map and then Winding River, which, yes, indeed, we can build bridges, and then we're going to take a look at a map that's already started. Y'all ready? Okay, well, let's go. If you haven't already, smash subscribe. If you haven't already, smash that like button, and let's jump into our first look at one of the new maps here, High Peaks in Manor Lords. Let's go. Wow. Damn, it is very cool to see mountains so close finally in Manor Lords. That is amazing. Welcome to High Peaks, and welcome to one of the starting regions, one of 4, where, of course, in this game mode, the enemy is already controlling one of the territories, and so do we, and there's 2 neutral ones to claim. Perhaps a challenging mode, or perhaps a speedrun mode, because it's not as arduous to capture so many regions, but it is a gorgeous one, and one of which has a long road down the middle and a beautiful stream off to the side. And of course, lots and lots and lots of crazy cool mountains. This really looks amazing. Unfortunately, we can't build up there, but it really creates a landscape that I've never even thought possible in Manor Lords before, and I never thought we would get a map quite like this. Let's go ahead and take a look at the map itself and zoom out a little bit. We'll skip this, of course, which is our typical victory condition scenario. But look at this. Now, at first I thought maybe this wasn't great to see something like this, but then I thought back, interestingly enough, to my days, which are still among us, of playing games like Wargame Red Dragon and European Escalation, where in those games it is a battle for territory. Of course, a more modern game that takes place around the Cold War and even modern era with games like Broken Arrow coming around, but a lot of those are about controlling territory. And it feels very much like this, with the mountains around and your infantry and such up in the mountains. But this is the Middle Ages, and so I thought, well, wait a minute, we're building cities here, and they're going to be very close to each other, too. Now, unfortunately, in this version of Manor Lords, to which we will go through everything that is new, don't you worry, unfortunately, at this point, there's no AI cities, but that's something planned in the future and something Greg really wants to showcase, and we're all in a line, like I mentioned. Now, there's that beautiful stream that goes down the middle, and look at these cliffs, man. That's amazing. Perfect spot to build cities. Right up here, that's probably my favorite location in this whole map. And perfect to build your manor, perfect to build your church, your cities, and then of course farmland all down here. Lots and lots of trees to cut down. A gorgeous valley indeed. So you've got 4 territories here that are all in line with the King's Road down the middle, with a few areas branching off to a couple of areas where you're encouraged to build a city, and of course the random starting locations for resources. There are no new resources here, but it would be cool in the new maps if there were some sort of a resource that differentiated them and gave some sort of an interesting bonus, like for example the mountains having perhaps more salt and more iron or something. Maybe there is a little bit of that, but I can't tell for certain. But definitely there is some high deposits of iron and clay. But remember, these are all randomized still in Manor Lords as to where they are, what they are, and how much of it there is. But man, that is a really nice spot right there. These lakes, for example, let's just call them lakes. They're little ponds, but these spawn pretty much anywhere, and I love when they spawn on like the edge of a forest. It just looks so good. I mean, look at that. That's just really amazing. And the view mode lets us get so close to that. It's very nice. So very, very cool. But yes, the look of this map is gorgeous, and there's a few little areas where obviously they're telling you to go build. But yeah, I find myself doing a lot of re-rolls, and we'll talk about that later. Some people are annoyed that I do that, but honestly, I think the best way to get the best experience in Manor Lords is to, as I do in Farthest Frontier, continually roll until I have some resources that I really want to play with that I haven't seen before. Like, for example, shoals of fish. Last time I just went with it, and then the AI still aggressively takes over a big portion of the map. So I've noticed that we start in any of these locations randomly. I thought it would be like how it is now, red at the bottom, yellow at the top, and then we clash in the middle. But I've also seen where we start on both of these locations here in the middle. The 2 locations in the middle, all named German names here, but they all seem to have these cliff faces, which is really cool for defending and like building a manor up there, and gives you the high ground if you ever go to war against the enemy. But one thing to consider though is that there is only 2 trade points in the entire game here in this map. There's one at the very north and there's one at the very south. There's no other way out of this battle. So yeah, you're going to have to be essentially either immediately trying to go south or trade right away like we are now. You want to get to those trade points. It's very important. And of course, you can always work your way down the newer advanced pond keeping, which we saw previously in Manor Lords. That's a newer thing, not new as of this update, but it is very important, I think, to be able to trade right away in this game for the resources you don't have, including the still ever broken taverns. We'll talk about that a little later. But a lot of people still asking, is there diplomacy in the game? The short answer is yes, but long answer is no. Essentially, the diplomacy is this, where this guy's like, hey man, this land is mine, and you say, nah brah, this belongs to the king, prepare to fight, essentially, or you don't have to respond at all. Those are things that'll come a little bit later, including expansions to influence king's favor, annual tax, and treasury too, which will probably be reworked and have more things added to them in the future. But the map, regardless of all that, is gorgeous and really refreshes my desire to build a Manor Lords. I probably have built in every single region in the previous map 4 or 5 times at this point. And now it's nice to be able to build in like a beautiful open area where, again, we can also see the fertility of these maps. And again, you can re-roll to get the perfect fertility. So if you think to yourself, oh man, I wanted to build a village up here and have a nice farm. Well, yeah, you got to keep restarting in order to get that. So, beautiful, though. Absolutely beautiful. Looks like poor fertility all around, except for probably the starting area for this guy. Of course, he always gets good stuff. One thing that I learned, by the way, from you guys recently, and a good tip for everyone, is if you see one rich deposit in a map area, but not two, it means that this area probably has high fertility. In fact, I think it's about 100% guarantee. If you're seeing an area with low fertility, it'll usually have two rich deposits of any resource, and that includes, like, for example, clay, iron, stone, salt, fish, and wild animals, and I think berries and maybe a couple others. But here's a bandit camp there. Bandits are more powerful than ever and absolutely decimated my forces last time. The 20 weapons that you get from the king, both in shields and spears, against two groups of around 30 bandits that attack, they cut through almost half of my forces, and then they retreated as well as my forces. They, I don't know, they broke off the attack and luckily didn't damage my village. But it does seem like in this build, the bandits are a lot more powerful and determined to stop you. And I used the tactics that I normally did. I didn't do anything different, so we're going to need a force, I think, far superior. Numerical numbers, superior numbers are going to be very important here. So it's not just about tactics anymore and about weaponry, but also numbers will play a part too, because they greatly outnumbered me. Now, obviously, a smaller group of retinue that are well equipped are going to beat these guys, but it's war. Things are, it's never fair, and there's a lot of factors that will affect that. So, wow, a really cool looking little camp here too, I must say. But no matter where I go in this map, I've got to say these mountains are incredible. It reminds me of my trips to Czechia this year, and Slovakia, and and parts of Poland too, although those areas were a little more flat that I went to, and it makes me just want to go back. I mean, this is an incredible part of Europe. And by the way, this has got me, and this is of course inspired by many different things, but incredibly excited for Kingdom Come Deliverance too. I mean, this game is on par with that game in terms of its appearance. Like how, just look at that, birds flying over, you got the sun in the background, of course seasons, we can see it go from summer, spring, summer, autumn, and winter, and it's just so damn cool. Now, this is not the first time we've seen a spring or a stream in Manor Lords. The Germanic map had that, and I've also noticed a few things with the maps where a couple of trees will be in the King's Road or the bush. But again, remember, Greg is still working on this. This is nowhere near complete. Not only the game, but the patch itself is not a part of the main game of Manor Lords. So it's still being worked on, but I think there's a lot of great things here and a lot of great experimentation and testing for things that could be the future of this game and should be the future of the game. You want to go see a new map? All right, let's go to the other map now and take a much further look at the new maps and the new update of Manor Lords. Let's go. Time for another one. Well, welcome to the second map in Manor Lords, and one that probably will please more people as it is very similar to the first in size, but has a heck of a lot more here. There's our typical victory condition message, but check this out, man. I cannot believe it. Look at how massive this new map is. About the same size as the other one, but of course the skybox making things look huge. And look at that river with what? Pre-built bridges. That's right, there's 4 pre-built bridges on the King's Road, and this brings up one of the first issues in the game is, well, can we build our own bridges? Absolutely you can. If you control both sides of the river, you'll actually be permitted in Manor Lords to build all the way across, to which costs about 45 planks, or maybe less if you find an area a little smaller than this, or much, much more. You can even do weird river crossings like build a bridge from here to here. So the bridge building is quite flexible and lets you do weird things, which I really appreciate. There's no real restrictive rules to it. But a thing to imagine is, yeah, you could basically be going to war and then camp a bridge, and the AI will try to send all of its troops across the bridge while you camp the other side with archers and things like that. So if they try to cross, it's a really good choke point for that kind of stuff. And unfortunately for you, who may be familiar with removing the ladder in the pool in The Sims, yes, you did it, I know. Yeah, you can't delete these bridges on the King's Road. As far as I can tell so far, there doesn't seem to be a way to do that. But you can build your own bridges I'm just not sure if you can delete them instantaneously and drop his troops into water or something like that if they cross there. Now, the river, as you'd also guess, does not freeze in the winter, so there will be no crossing of the river in winter time. So that's another thing to consider, that pretty much all traffic goes across these bridges if you happen to be attacked from one side of the map to the other. This river seems to go east to west or west to east, whichever way it's flowing, and this does seem to be like the bottom of the map versus the top. But you can see all these regions here, to which there are some gorgeous locations to build. Don't mind, again, all these resources because they'll be randomized, but there's just some really just incredibly beautiful places to build a medieval village, and it makes me think about building something along the lines of Prague or you know, Budapest or something like that, where there's just beautiful hilly landscape and cliffs and trees, and it's incredible. It really is. If we go ahead and turn this off here, the HUD, by hitting, by the way, if you want to do that, Control Charlie or Control C to do that. Again, an incredible looking game, beautiful landscapes that I never thought we would see for a very long time, and I guess it was long enough, but they're very well done. It's really natural looking and insane. Now, this map again reminds me of Ostriv for a few reasons. One, because of the river, but two, because in Ostriv, usually those handcrafted maps too have you building something like this, almost looking like, you know, the island of Manhattan, but it's just a river bend, and that's another great place to build right there too, in addition to where I've started in one of our previous saves right here, clearing out all the trees from the top there and trying to build a village and a church. Now, another thing to think about in this game at this current moment in this build is that there is no fishing on the river. You still need to use the shoals in order to fish, and there's still a few trade points in the corners. I think all the corners are tradable in this one. Yes, indeed they are. So multiple trade points all along the edge. No fishing in the rivers. The rivers do not freeze over. And also, I hate to bum you out, but there's no river traffic for trade. There's no boats or any sort of river traffic that will come down and trade with you, which is a little sad, but hopefully it's something maybe we'll see in the future. I'm sure Greg has some good reasons maybe not to do it. Maybe he will in the future, but it would be cool at least to see fishing boats out here, and you know, people maybe shipping things downriver or upriver, even for local trade. A city maybe cutting logs and then transporting goods and stuff downriver, or maybe upriver somehow, maybe an ox to pull it. However they did it, I would love to see it. But a very cool looking map. I think we've got about the same regions as before, and they also feel bigger, but it's probably because they're differently shaped. And all of them are pretty much along the river and or have a cliff or a combination of both, or there's a gorgeous river bend. So it's really good looking. If we go down into first person mode, it also feels a lot more forested for some way, sort of way. It's like more, I don't know, there seems to be thicker forest, and all of these paths seem like they're cutting right through it. And it reminds me a bit of some of the forests from Medieval Dynasty, where you'll be riding your horseback or walking through and then come across a bridge. So, but these bridges do seem to be rather high up, and yeah, it's kind of cool to be able to see them actually from a distance. Now, we can go ahead and respond as usual. Get bumped, brah. But yeah, we can walk across these bridges too in first person, and you can run there as well. And they look rather nice. Now, one thing I hope to see in the far future of Manor Lords is something to do with these maps having special resources, or getting something by going to coastlines and things like that. Maybe small streams going into the river. And another game we love on this channel is called Dawn of Man. And in that game, of course, you can gather mud. Okay, never mind. I take back what I said. Whoa, wait a minute. I walked across some of the bridges before. Never mind. All right, maybe. All right, then. So anyway, well, this will just take a second. What the hell? I swear I walked on one of the bridges before. I never walked all the way across, but I was able to step on the deck. Did I? I think I may have assumed. Anyway, that's strange. As I was saying, in Dawn of Man, you go down to the river to get mud, and you may be able to fish and stuff down at the river's edge. So I do hope for the future of the game that there is some sort of way to gather resources like that from a landscape like a coastline, like a actual water coastline, and a map generator too, either where we're next to a big, maybe ocean or a big lake. Something like that would be very cool. All right, well, there you go. Now we're like Skinner when he's chasing down Bart like the Terminator in one of the episodes there. But yeah, all right, so never mind. I either walked across some other bridge once, or there was a sweet spot. Okay, never mind. Forget what I said. Long story short, the bridges are cool. Your people can walk across them for your retinue and your troops. And, of course, trade also can go across those bridges as well. Yeah, like your horses and things like that. So, beautiful. A beautiful map. Lots of open space and lots of trees. So, maybe even better than the first map somehow. I would not mind to see another map similar to the first, but I've got to see more water, and I would love a map generator. If it were ever possible, I want every modern city builder in 2025 and going forward to have one. I also want map editors for very talented people to make incredibly detailed maps of like Paris and Berlin, you know, like before they were ever built upon, so that way you could do it yourself if you wanted to, or Manhattan, something like that, and still pretend like you're playing in medieval Europe. But I want to see, and I know Farthest Frontier does it, and so does Foundation, and I know there's probably some technical reasons. I'm just saying a big wish would be for games like City Skylines and, well, City Skylines 2 and Manor Lords to be able to do that. All right, we're going to go ahead and now get into the nitty-gritty of Manor Lords, some of the things that are not looking so hot, but maybe will get better in the future, and some things that I really want to discuss with you down below in the comment section. So let's get to it and start breaking this game down a little bit more with its latest update. Bulbar! Yeah, Beaverton. That is the name of this town. Alright, welcome everybody to a save we've been working on for about maybe 6 to 9 hours. Nice, 6 to 9. In Manor Lords. This is a village that, well, I'm kind of approaching like we typically do, but trying to not bother the landscape as much as possible in some places and completely clear-cutting it in others. Here in the corner, we've got ourselves a bunch of Tier 1 burgage plots. We've got ourselves a new brand new tavern here that was built. Sorry, that's the Tier 2 storage building. Here's the small tavern, and here's one of the first new updates to the buildings. We have ourselves the ability to upgrade to a large tavern, and we're going to do that right now just to see what it looks like in Manor Lords. Now, unfortunately, many of you are reporting, and I've also been seeing it myself, that these Tier 1 taverns don't seem to be working right at the moment, and there is a whole rework to the economy in this game. A lot of things have changed on how things are transported from, like, let's say a burgage plot to the granary to then a marketplace. Here we have a granary that is then selling things here at the marketplace, and there's been some big changes to how that works, and it's a little bit more like Farthest Frontier, but not quite. I don't see the wheels fully turning on this one. I'm still confused, and a lot of people are as well, and we're getting, you know, conflicting reports of some people trying to do what I'm doing and it's working, and then it's not, so I'm not entirely sure. Right now we're upgrading this burgage plot from at level 1 to a level 1 with a house, you know, 2 houses here, and these folks are harvesting carrots as quickly as they can. We might not be able to see what's stored here, but yeah, so it looks like in the pantry they could store 37 carrots, and they're obviously going to have a lot more to store here, but the pantry is not picking them up as it should, the granary that is, and it's trying to store as much as it can, and same doing with the ale, and trying to sell it at the market, which, by the way, people now should be able to buy from the markets or the granaries if they're starving, and they're also supposed to diversify their diets a lot more. So here we have meat, vegetables, eggs, and fish coming in, and so people should be able to not pick one thing over the other, but try to balance, and so that tries to relieve the strain on everybody having trouble with meat. No matter how many pigs and goats you would have, even in a small town, it was always hard to supply everybody with meat by importing it, by hunting, by doing pigs, and by doing goats, and by doing sheep. Many people, including myself, just couldn't keep up with it. So now, hopefully, with the diverse diet, people with fish and eggs are getting, and meat are getting the protein that they want, and then through other means are getting all the carbohydrates and whatnot. I don't think the game is taking all of that into account yet, but it is taking into account some things for spoilage, for example, and that is displayed, you know, through here at the pantry, where you can see ale spoilage is very low. And same with the vegetables at low. One is very low, one is low. And that's kind of cool. The ale, of course, stored in a barrel, and the vegetables probably stored in a basket, but stored in the granary. So definitely should get extra bonus than if it were at the goods stall. Some of the stalls have been combined too, so that way they're not, there is no spoilage actually on anything at the food stall. Imagine that. Or maybe none is reported. But anyway, a lot of these stalls have now been combined. The you know, there used to be like the fuel stall, but now there's the common goods stall. So leather and firewood are both sold from here, rather than just firewood being sold at one stall together. So all of these are trying to really alleviate the bottleneck and to make it so that way multiple marketplace stalls do more than one thing. And you can see here, that there are 3 families working and that they are allowing the stalls to be made. So there should be 3 stalls selling food, or at least 3 families working at whatever they can. So all these fields down here have animals in them, or they should or will eventually, with chickens and goats and pigs. And so we should be making a bunch of hide, we should be making a bunch of meat, and we should be able to make a bunch of eggs and vegetables. So the initial feeding of people with a diverse diet is taken care of mostly because of this shoal up here, and there's a lot of fish that is being sold. So we're making a lot of good money that way, but I'm spending all that money on the ale, and most of the ale, as you may have seen, is sitting here in the granary at a total of 20, and then additionally some more sitting here, or at least it was, there it is, sitting at the trading post, and still can't get that damn log tavern to work. So we're going to actually make this the highest level now, and this will be the first time we actually see this building upgraded. You saw what it looked like before, and some are reporting that the tier 1 is broken, but the tier 2 seems to be functioning. Now, another thing that's new is right over here we have our good old-fashioned wells, and these wells are capable of being upgraded to a stone well as well. So the standard well should be able to supply 15 burgage plots with water. The tier 2 should be able to do 30, so doubling that. And of course the water is still the same as it was before, where there's the kind of the underground looking rivers, where if you go to somewhere over here, I believe, underground water, there you go. So you can see all these little aquifers where you can build your wells on top of. So I've got quite a few in the town. I think I've got 3, so more than enough to give everybody water for drinking, and for I think some of the industries too. Maybe the tannery requires that. I can't quite recall at the moment, but anyway, everything should be optimized and getting better, and it's just it's going towards more of what happens in Farthest Frontier with spoilage, and with, you know, things being harvested and then stored in a root cellar, and then being sold at marketplaces, and then being distributed to people, and then them being able to store those things at home. It's really like somewhere between Ostriv and Farthest Frontier, which I love. That's perfect. And Manor Lords kind of already fell in between those lines, and it seems to be getting better. I see a really good framework set up here, but I just don't see it working at the moment. And to be completely fair to Greg, one, this dropped right before Christmas in Poland. Poland celebrates on the 24th, so do many other countries, and some on the 25th. But regardless, it is the holiday season. This man's been working his ass off. So anything that I'm, you know, criticizing here or pointing out is more like a FYI. I hope this changes in the future, not, you know, dev bad, game bad. Please know that I have nothing but the utmost respect for Greg following his dream, and the community for providing so much feedback and trying to say this is confusing, this is cool, this is different, this is, you know, this description is misleading, change this to that. Whatever people are trying to do to make this a better game, I'm all for that, including applauding Greg at every step forward to just continue to make something that we've never seen before on such a beautiful scale. And we actually have kind of seen games like this before, but, you know, this was the #1 game on Steam for 2024. It was like the most wishlisted game up until its release, and everybody was playing it, so it was really cool to see it come out. We've got 7 families here available now to transport 2 logs. We've got 8 planks and 10 stone being delivered here. And check this out. Some of the recipes are now different in Manor Lords. You can see that some of the buildings are still free to build, like the hunting camp, but other buildings like the forager hut, I think, remain unchanged. But then there are other buildings that take planks now. So, for example, or more planks, or different amounts of planks, like the windmill may have been changed, and also the livestock trading post. I think maybe the number of logs needed may have been adjusted slightly, but buildings that used to only take logs, there's now a bigger emphasis on planks, which I do like, because then it allows you to, again, diversify the resources that you need to build a building, and of course kind of takes a strain off of one storage type over the other. Building your manor is about the same as well. Opening up the castle planner, we've got all the same stuff here, and they do take planks and whatnot to build towers and other things like that. So I have a save here that's a little more advanced than where we are now, and it pretty much has the walls going up in the winter and almost being completed. It does seem like it's more plank intensive, but I can't really confirm yet all the changes on that. Other than that, there's really been like some back-end bug fixes, big changes to the economy, changes to the combat, and then also new buildings added in addition to new maps. So that gives us a lot of new things to play with and see how they work, or if they don't work. One thing, for example, that doesn't seem to work well is I had a little bug here with the church, where the construction of the church is completed, but there's 2 logs still sitting here. So if we click on the church, it's saying that there's 2 timber and storage. Well, the church really doesn't need that. It only needed that when it was upgrading from a tier 1 to a tier 2 church, from the small wooden church to the small stone church, and these are still sitting here. As you can see, we can still assign grave diggers, and the church is still functioning because we can see it up here. Where's that approval rating? Yeah, so you can see there that we've got the the church level +8. We've upgraded it. Looks real nice. But if we click here, it's telling us that this house here is full of something, or whatever the case may be. Oh, actually, after loading, it's actually updated. Well, that's another thing that I've noticed too, and I'm not sure if this is the case. And if anybody could explain this to me, please let me know. One of the things that we did first here at this town was we went for trade logistics, and it says the cost for establishing a new trade route is halved. And it worked one time, but I thought it was supposed to work on all trade routes all the time. So something that costs 5 and 6 costs obviously 10 and 12. And when I bought it, it did cost 6, but then prices seem to double for every trade route that we get. So something that costs 10, then the next one costs 20, and then 40. It's either doubling or increasing weird. Again, me and the chat are kind of trying to take attention to this and take notes. And we've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people watching. So if you've noticed anything else, let us know, because we're all trying to see what's new, what's working, what's not, and provide that kind of feedback. Greg watches these videos too, so happy holidays, Greg, and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and all that good stuff from Manor Lords. And there are much more detailed people than I when it comes to reporting this stuff in the Discord. People who don't have channels, but they know everything that's going on, and they're obviously keeping track of all the things that are working or not, or which are crashing, and those are most important, I think. Now, there's no real release date for this beta at the moment, and it's not really even complete yet in terms of not having all the features. I think more things will be added beforehand to test it, and then it will be released as the kind of current new version of Manor Lords once it's kind of find a way to maybe mesh with previous saves to where the new economy and stuff doesn't mess up previous saves in the Germanic Valley. I want to see what's new now here. Look at that. Is that construction complete? It is not.
Who's using the auger?
Well,
I need to drill holes
that's
for
an
the
interesting
pegs.
little well. We're going to see how this goes, but we've got 10 stone that need to be delivered there, and a few more over here at the tavern. So I want to see if these work and how they work. But I think that might be it for new buildings. Let me just do a quick check here to see if there's anything else that pops up in my mind. There's maybe new crafting times for things. There were a lot of patch notes. I went over them on the first stream. And again, one of the things that I wish we can do in Manor Lords in the future, and I want to see patched in, and this is something that I thought would be there, was in the notes, I thought I read something about being able to pick your starting area. Now, maybe that's not implemented yet, but honestly, to make this not be a game of like, a card shop simulator, or like, doing polls in a gacha game, every single time that, I started this game, I wanted to have a fishing shoal because I never had it before, and I wanted iron, and I wanted to start here. And I probably spent about an hour and a half re-rolling in order to get the perfect setup. So it would be cool. And I thought I read this, and I swear I saw it in the patch notes where a player could pick something, either their starting resources or location, just allowing us to start somewhere. Obviously have a randomizer for sure, absolutely, but then also allow a player to pick what they want, fertility or shoals or whatever, and then give it to us in these random locations, both in a starting location, but then randomized in that location or whatever. And I know you can't please everybody, and that's only going to make more requests, but I think it is a simple request that if we have to start somewhere, at least let us pick. I believe the enemy always starts here in one of these upper 2 areas here, and that we always start anywhere other than that. Typically, I've been starting here at the bottom, here at the top, and here at the middle, and then sometimes over here on this bottom right side, and then very rarely here. But they're all great locations, and of course the goal is to capture all of these if you're playing the standard game mode for Manor Lords. But there's of course the prosperity mode and the on the edge mode where you're supposed to get attacked all the time too, and perhaps the bridge has made that a lot easier in these maps. I don't know. I haven't yet built on the other map, but I still love that one as well for the 4 quick regions. And so here we have, what, a total of 2, 4, 6, 7 is that? and the other one 4. So it seems like it would maybe reduce the time in which that other map would take to play. But that's totally fine too if you want to play in prosperity mode and really clog up the whole map with your creativity. I don't know. But anyway, those are all the things I found out so far. Let's speed up time now and get to winter and watch these damn buildings get built. We've got the large tavern on the highest priority right now, so I want to see that thing get built. And we're not going to worry about any problems happening right now. We're not going to worry about that. It's okay. You know, things, sure, problems are going on, and sure, they could be better. But I just want to see what these finalized and finished buildings look like. And that well, looking about what I thought it would look like. Yeah, your traditional well there with the little crank inside. And look at that, a metal chain, actually, suspending the bucket there. And that bucket seems to be made of, is that iron? No, it's actually made of wood. But cool that you see people bring their own bucket over and then lowering the well bucket down into the reservoir to then pull it back up. So that's very cool. Love that. Exactly what I was hoping to see. And now we're going to see what the tavern looks like. The tavern always reminds me of the ones that we go to in Kingdom Come Deliverance. And I'm very excited for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and to compare the architecture and city layouts in that game and then try to build cities like that in Manor Lords 2. In fact, as you've noticed, probably, I do a little bit of a gridiron here in order to try to get perfectly square plots for the buildings that are going to be Tier 2 and Tier 3. I just feel like they look nicer in a more square setup, but no doubt that the way to play Manor Lords is like this, you know, more sprawling. And I've kind of, I didn't cut down any of these trees, so I was just basically putting a road down the middle and then building plots off to the sides, and that's kind of what we came up with. So it looks rather nice, I must say. Ooh, winter is here. Alright, let's go back over here to the large tavern. We've got no logs delivered, no planks delivered, and no stones delivered either. Are we out of any sort of resources? No, we got plenty of stone, plenty of timber, plenty of planks. So we'll see how that goes. I still feel very confused with the trading post. I'm not sure, you know, how often trades are supposed to happen. I've got, I think, 2 horses here going back and forth. You see a little cart there hauling ass. Wow, look at them go. That's bringing planks and fish out and bringing back ale up to a certain point. And yeah, I would like to see more people using these horse-drawn carts to haul things, or more hand carts. Austrieve has the ability to make hand carts and maintain them with metal parts. There is durability and a lot of realism to that. But here, some jobs get the carts, some jobs don't. I feel like most people should just be using a cart. Even the guy who is at the tavern rolling those barrels back and forth. I mean, sure, maybe it's realistic or whatever, but since only one family can work here, and since it takes so long, it's something where I really just want to see them use a cart and haul like 3 or 4 barrels at a time, because the houses that require a tavern are only the Tier 2. As we see here, tavern supplies only required from a burgage plot Tier 2 or above, and so a Tier 1 house isn't going to use it at all. Even though it sells ale, I'd imagine it's selling other things like, you know, bread bowls and, I don't know, boneless chicken wings, and maybe they have a pull tab night, and I don't know, maybe there's karaoke and trivia night. I don't know what they do at the tavern. I've never been in there. But I'm just saying, I want the tavern to provide more things in the future too. And it would be cool if it were like an inn to provide passive income for travelers or something like that. It could be expanded to be something very interesting for international trade in the future. Like, sure, maybe the guy who is selling you roof tiles or something comes to your town, then he needs somewhere to stay, and then you can, you know, extort a little bit of money back out of him after buying his expensive roof tiles, that kind of thing. So anyway, I'm going to see if this building upgrades, and then we'll take a look at the fully upgraded tavern. It's taken a while. It's fully, you know, at the highest level of importance. So let's see what happens at the Tier 2 Tavern here in Manor Lords, the big new update. So I've had this sitting here up until March on very high priority with nothing being delivered. Now I'm building another tavern, and they're already starting work on it. And so I'm going to try to build and then upgrade another Tier 1 tavern and see what happens. By the way, this guy is still way too aggressive on the balanced mode in taking over the map. This guy will take the entire map, literally, by like the end of year 3 or 4, and then he also, of course, will knock out every single bandit camp as it pops up, which really prevents you from like getting all that juicy treasury money and some influence. Remember, if you capture a territory in this game that's neutral, it costs 1,000 influence to claim and then take a territory. and then it takes 2,000 to declare war against him. So it's basically going to take 2,000 for every single one of these territories to say, hey, that's mine, and then go to war with them. So it's not about having a tough army. It's about doing the paperwork. Like, literally, you could have, you know, Tiger tanks and M1s and cruise missiles in the Middle Ages, like you're playing something like, what is the name of that game? Castle? What the hell's that one? Oh, Kingmaker, right. It's like playing Kingmaker, but you still got to do the paperwork. You still got to use the influence, which is like, where the hell is his influence coming from? The guy can claim a new territory every month. All right, let's go ahead and try to upgrade this again. Now going to upgrade the second one here and see what happens. So, first one, I don't know. It could be bugged. I'm not sure. This is just my experience in the current map. Some people were also reporting that when they took territory up this way, all the way up here, it looked like they were having some bugs or something where they weren't able to play anymore. So I'm not sure. I'm expecting this to be broken. That's totally fine. No problems there. Oh my god, is this the tier 2? Oh, it's actually getting materials delivered. Okay, I don't know why the first one couldn't. That totally glitched out. Large tavern is now being built. All right. And let's see what this looks like. Does it look any different? Maybe the main building has an extra floor? But this barn looks about the same, and so do these tables. What's different? I think the building is just taller. Here we see the first building kind of untouched. Is there a difference? There is, isn't there? Yeah, there's like an extra floor added onto it. Then this one has like a second floor balcony, and this one does not. This almost looks like more of the tier 3 houses that you build in the town. Yeah, that looks more like a tier 3 house with a little barn attached to it. See what happens here. And we'll have to check out the differences between the two, just off the top of our head. So that's cool. All right, so we got the tier 2 here popping off. We need one more stone delivered from somebody. There it goes. And then they should be able to finish it. Boom. All right, now it's fully functioning. Okay, so now we could have 3 families working here instead of 1. And then that seems to be about it. Can it hold any more ale? All right, it holds 50, and the old one holds 25. So it doubles the storage and then triples the amount of families working there. And then that's about it. So, I mean, good for if you're serving a lot more patrons, especially if you're in the town. My original plan was to build like the tier 1 out of town and have a couple of tier 2 buildings here, and then the bigger one with the tier 2 in the town to serve more people. There ain't no way I'm going to be able to get, 50 ale transported there. There just seems to be a lot of inconsistencies with delivering. And I think there might be a way where you could turn off the service until you hit a certain... I'm not sure if this is how this works, but basically it's saying here, building will stop production if the region surplus of this resource is less than equal to the reserve. So, I don't know, maybe you can crank up the reserve so that way there's a ton of, like, ale in reserve, so that way you can... I don't know. Anyway, my opinion should be there should be a way, maybe there is a way, to not make this building function until there's 50 ale in there, because it's incredible. I mean, a town of 100 people can drink, 5,000 people's worth of ale. I don't know, it's crazy. But anyway, those are some of the things that are broken and ongoing. I'm still learning, as of course we're going over the patch notes and we're kind of comparing things that seem to be working and not, and some things that seem to be new that might not be listed, that might not be intentional. I don't know. I mean, it's Manor Lords, and it's good, right? 2 new maps, a whole new economy, lots of fun changes, and a lot more life finally breathed into Manor Lords. I love it. This game's getting better every second. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Thank you very much for subscribing, smashing like, and let me know if you have any questions down below, or let me know what you know about Manor Lords and some of the changes and things that you may have experienced yourself, and other things that you heard that are coming down the line, because I want to know. And I don't know everything, but I do certainly try to, and I really want your help in learning more about Manor Lords so I can help and teach more people this game and many others. In the future, in 2025, we'll be playing Farthest Frontier, we'll be playing Austria, we'll be playing Manor Lords, we'll be playing Foundation, and many more. So thank you very much, everybody, for being here and joining me for an amazing 2024. Happy holidays again, folks. Merry Christmas, New Year's, all that good stuff. I hope you've all enjoyed your month so far, and I can't wait to see you back more for great games here on the channel next year. Oh, and a little game by the name of Civilization 7. That's coming soon too. We'll certainly be taking a look at that probably in I don't know, January, probably February, right? Anyway, we'll see. I'll see you all next time. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.